The room felt heavy, not because of its size or the things in it, but because of what it carried memories. Every wall, every corner seemed to hold pieces of a life lived together. It was a little more than a week since Sharon Osbourne had lost her husband, Ozzy, and she sat quietly in their Buckinghamshire home, surrounded by the silence that comes after one you love is gone. The soft light came through the windows, and in that stillness, she began to speak. Her voice was steady, though there was an unmistakable weight in every word. This was not just another story or an interview. It was a moment of truth, a moment of love laid bare. Sharon and Ozzy had spent over 40 years together, a life full of chaos, joy, mistakes, forgiveness, and triumphs. They had seen the best and the worst of each other. But in his final days, when everything else had faded, something pure rose to the surface. There were no spotlights, no stage, no audience. It was just them, as it had been in the very beginning, a husband and wife facing the last chapter of their story. She began to share something she had kept close to her heart. "I've been holding onto these words," Sharon said softly, her eyes shining with tears she hadn't let fall. "They were so private, so personal, but I've realized they weren't only meant for me. They're for everyone who ever loved him, everyone who was touched by his music and his life." The morning she was talking about was July 22, 2025. It was a morning she would never forget, the morning that would forever change the way people remembered the man known as the Prince of Darkness. For the last day of his life, Ozzy had been drifting in and out of sleep. Parkinson's disease had weakened him, making it hard for him to speak or stay awake. But at 10:30 a.m., something happened. He became alert, his eyes cleared, and he reached for Sharon's hand. It was still firm, still strong despite the frailty of his body. "Sharon, come close," he said. His voice was quiet but steady. "I need to tell you something important." That moment, Sharon explained, was unlike anything before. It wasn't about illness or fear. It was about love, pure, simple love. They had built a life together, a family, a career, a home, and it hadn't always been easy. But right then, Ozzy wasn't a rock star or an icon. He was just a man looking at the woman who had stood beside him through everything. "Do you realize what we've done?" he asked her, his voice tinged with wonder. "Do you see the miracle we created together?" He wasn't talking about money or fame. He was talking about their life, their marriage, their children, their moments of joy, and the struggles they had overcome. Sharon's eyes softened as she remembered. He spoke about the man he used to be when they first met, broken, uncertain, hiding behind a persona. "But you saw something in me," he told her. "You loved me into becoming the man I was meant to be." Those words stayed with her. They weren't just about gratitude. They were a reminder of what love can do, how it can heal, transform, and give meaning to a life that might have been lost otherwise. Ozzy had changed. He wasn't the same person who walked into her life decades earlier. He had grown, learned, and become a man deeply grateful for the love that shaped him. Then he said something that stunned her. "People think of me as a solo artist," he said with a small smile. "But everything I've achieved since 1979 has been with you. You didn't just manage my career. You created it." He talked about songs that wouldn't exist without her, about how she gave him the courage to be vulnerable in his music. It wasn't all easy memories, though. There were moments of deep regret. He admitted the pain he caused her during his battles with addiction. "There were times when you should have left me," he said quietly. "Any reasonable person would have walked away. But you stayed. You believed in us when I didn't even believe in myself." Sharon listened, her heart breaking and swelling at the same time. She understood. She had lived through every one of those moments, and now she could hear the weight of his acknowledgement. It meant everything. He went on to speak about his illness and how it had kept him from being the husband he wanted to be. "I wish I could have been there for more of the beautiful moments," he confessed. "I wish I could have been the man you needed every single day, not just on the good days." His voice trembled, not out of fear, but out of honesty. And then, almost as if he could sense the future. He made a request. "Promise me you won't stop living when I'm gone," he said gently. "You're only 72, you still have so much left to do, travel, laugh, love again if it brings you joy." Sharon could hardly answer. "I could never love anyone else," she whispered. But Ozzy, with quiet wisdom, told her something she would never forget. "Our love is big enough to include whatever comes next. If loving someone else helps you heal, then I want that for you. Our love doesn't end when I die. It just changes." This wasn't just a farewell, it was a lesson. Ozzy was teaching her, even then, that love is a choice we make every day, through good and bad, through joy and pain. That was their legacy, not perfection, but persistence. He spoke about their children, about how proud he was of Kelly, Jack, and Amy. "I wasn't always the father I wanted to be," he admitted, "but I hope I was the father they needed when it mattered." Then he reflected on their marriage, not just the big moments like weddings or awards, but the quiet ones. Sunday mornings, evenings in the garden, a cup of tea when he was sick. He remembered one evening in 2010 when he had been overwhelmed and anxious. Sharon had found him outside, sitting in silence. She didn't speak, she just held his hand. "That night," he said, "I realized what love really means. It's not the big gestures. It's simply being there, even in those last hours." Ozzy was thinking of others. He gave Sharon instructions for his funeral, what music to play, what to say to their children and friends. But it wasn't just about logistics. His greatest wish was that his passing would bring people together, not break them apart. "Make it a celebration," he said. "Let them know how much they meant to me." Finally, he turned back to her. He squeezed her hand and said the words that will stay with her forever. "Thank you for giving me a life worth living. Thank you for loving me into the man I was meant to be. I'll be waiting for you on the other side. But don't rush. Live every moment of the beautiful life we built." An hour later, with no struggle, no fear, he passed peacefully. His face was calm, almost smiling. Sharon said it didn't feel like he was gone. It felt like he had simply changed form, like he was still with her in some quiet, unseen way. These moments, these words, became a guide for Sharon. They taught her that love doesn't stop. It transforms. It becomes the strength to keep living. "Even when he was dying, he was still taking care of me," she said. That's who he really was, not the rock star, but a man who loved his family more than anything. Before he left, Ozzy asked her to share a final message with his fans, that his greatest adventure wasn't the music or the fame. It was love, loving and being loved by his family and the people who mattered most. That was the real story. By sharing this, Sharon gives us all a gift. She reminds us that behind every legend, there's a human being who laughs, cries, and loves like the rest of us. And the most meaningful moments are often the quiet ones, away from the spotlight. Thank you for watching and sharing this journey of love, loss, and legacy. Sharon's story reminds us that even in our darkest moments, love can light the way forward. Ozzy's words were more than a farewell. They were a reminder to live fully, cherish the people around us, and keep moving even after loss. If this touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts in the comments. What does true love mean to you? And remember, life is short, but the love we give and receive can last forever.